on the screen, you can see the change to the end plates here. So the end plate sits sort of on the inside line of the wheel rather than the outside line. And then there's this tiny little, just this little guy here having a go. One of the other big stories that happened recently was the release of the first draft, the first go of the 2026 regulations. So the FIA has been cooking away these regulations that are supposed to improve everything, fix every problem that the sport has. And they're like, 2026, it's all going to start popping off. It's all going to go absolutely nutso. This weekend, to coincide with the Canadian Grand Prix, that gave us their first look at what that looks like. So we're going to go through some of that. And if anyone knows why the Formula One website is doing this, there's like, you go to a story on the F1 website and it's like, oh, did you know that the Canadian race happened? Here's the result. Here's some videos. Like, yeah, I know, but I want to read this story. FIA unveils Formula One regulations for 2026 and beyond, featuring more agile cars and active aerodynamics, writes Lawrence Barreto. And if you haven't seen the car, here's a look. Not too bad. Someone pointed out it's got big 2007 vibes, especially around the nose. You look how round this nose is. It's low, but the old nose from 2007 used to look like that. We'll go through some of the features of it, but I mean, while we've got this photo on the screen, you can see the change to the end plates here. So the end plate sits sort of on the inside line of the wheel rather than the outside line. And then there's this tiny little, just this little guy here having a go. This little dingus just sticking up here. Formula One's governing body, the FIA, has unveiled the agile, competitive, safer, and more sustainable set of regulations that will define the sport from 2026 and beyond. Revised aerodynamic regulations will work in tandem with new power unit rules, which include increased battery power and the use of 100% sustainable fuels. So we'll get into some of that in a little bit, but here's the dot points. Here's the executive summary of the rule changes. From 2026 onwards, Formula One will have more agile cars, which are 30 kilograms lighter and thus better able to battle on track. In the last couple of years, the Formula One cars have gone up in weight by about 250 kilograms. So going down, if they can do it, okay, great. But 30 kilograms is also like not really going to make too much difference. A redesigned power unit featuring increased battery power and an even split between internal combustion engine and electronic power, plus the use of 100% sustainable fuels. So there's more battery power. I think 3 times more battery power can be charged up and deployed throughout a race, throughout a lap. Now, obviously, if you're using more battery power, you can use less fuels. And this is also one of the problems with, I think, the switch to 100% sustainable fuels is they couldn't get enough combustion out of them. So now, if they tweak all of this and give people more battery power and less drag, because I believe less drag will mean less revving of the engine and such to get to the top speeds, and that will mean you use less fuel, therefore the sustainable fuels become viable. So there you go. Active aerodynamics in the form of a movable front and rear wings to allow for closer racing. Now this, I understand, would be available to all cars all the time when they're on the straight. And currently we have a DRS. So DRS opens when you're following someone and you can go faster. This would be similar, but front and rear wings could move to reduce the drag, and then cars can just go faster on the straight. That would just be all the time. That has a few benefits. One is that the cars can go faster without having to burn as much fuel and wear their tires as much as well, I guess. But also, it disrupts the air behind them less, which makes it's easier for 2 cars to follow and overtake, in theory, which has been one of the just core problems that we've been trying to solve for a long time. Increased overtaking opportunities through the introduction of a new system that gives drivers a short burst of additional battery power when within 1 second of the car in front. So a lot of the headlines that I saw about this were like, goodbye DRS. DRS is gone. The truth is we're going to have something a bit like DRS anyway. So they're obviously not so confident in these changes to the rules that they think overtaking will still be easy. It'll still be difficult. At least they are worried that it will still be difficult. And the idea is that with the movable wings, they will have higher speeds down the straights. And then when they slow those cars down, they will have an opportunity to charge up the batteries more. That extra power can then be deployed by drivers that are following. much in the way you now deploy DRS. I feel like if everything else is a good move, I think, and of course this remains to be seen, but on paper it all sounds good except for this one, because I feel like if you're currently not happy with DRS, you're going to be just as unhappy with this sort of push to overtake option. And for me, DRS is about opening a flap to reduce the drag so that you can have have more power to overtake the driver in front of you. Now, I mean, I can't see any difference between that and this, where you open the flaps so you can go faster to charge a battery, then deploy the battery when you're following to have more power so you can overtake. To me, that just doesn't really... There's just no difference. Right or wrong, I mean, I know DRS has its fans and its detractors, but I just don't see the difference. So maybe just don't get everyone hyped on, hey, we got rid of DRS. Now you can, if you're a purist, you can come back to the sport. This one does all of that. So, I don't know. Improve safety through stronger structures and even tougher tests. I believe this is about containment of the fuel cell, which I guess if you're using less fuel, you've got more opportunity to reinforce it more. I don't know how they're going to do that and take 30 kilos off the car, but that's up to them to solve, I suppose. Commitment from a record number of 6 power unit manufacturers. Well, yeah, fine, cool. Here's a top-down view. So I said before the change to the front wing here. So instead of having this big end plate on the outside, that big raised part is on the inside of the wheel, and this is what it looks like on the outside, but it's basically almost the width of the wheel. As well as that, and I don't understand any of this stuff, I'm just repeating words that I've heard, but here, there's these little scoopy-in wings. I think these are called scoopy-in wings. There's little scoopers. And what I heard was, instead of having an outwash where air funnels into the car and then flows out to the side of the car, this will ensure that the drag and the wake and the airflow is kept within the car. So this is about stopping outflow of air going out this way. For what it's worth. Don't think there's anything too exciting down here except for maybe some more photos. There you go. Overall, I think the cars look okay. They're slightly narrower. They're slightly shorter. If you saw them next to each other, you'd be hard-pressed to know the difference. It's only when they market it and say these cars are lighter, more narrow, and shorter. They all sound good. It's a bit like when Apple makes the iPhone 0.1 of a millimeter thinner. It's like, cool, they're thinner, but so what? Well, people have been reacting. Drivers have been reacting. The public have been reacting. And some of it's good. Some of it maybe still needs a little bit of work. This from the fine people at crash.net. FIA admit F1 2026 rules need refinements amid team and driver fears. Oh no. F1's governing body, the FIA, has admitted that the planned technical regulation overhaul for 2026 will need refinements amid fears and concerns from the teams. The plans have been met by a mixed response from drivers and teams alike, with 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton questioning whether the rules are in the right direction for the sport. Doesn't sound so good. Addressing concerns relating to straight line speed, FIA technical director Jan Monchot. Did I get that right? We will make sure the top speeds are not reaching levels that would be a safety concern, and we have means to do that. I think that that's in relation to the reduction in drag caused by the active wings. Obviously, the concern would be, what if you lose it and you're at top speed? What if you're trying to overtake someone? What if you whatever? And you have to move and you've got to keep control, and all of a sudden you don't have the wing that you normally have. You don't have the drag you normally have. That's not good. There's also, I guess, just speed concerns. They're saying we're going to be addressing concerns that, this might result in cars that are not faster than the F2 cars, which, to put it bluntly, that would not be ideal.
We need some new rules to make our cars look real cool. Be a little bit smaller, keep some air on the floor, and spread some new wings. And basically the same DRS. But don't worry about it. Oh yeah!